Okay, well, today we have Jenn Lunn here joining us, and we're just right at time, just a couple minutes after 3. Jenn Lunn is a longstanding team member of ours at Collegiate Sports Medicine. She joined us about 11 years ago, a little bit more than 11 years ago, and Jenn was actually working on a diploma in business administration and insurance at Mount Royal in Calgary, and wanted to do a practicum or get some work experience, and so joined us at the clinic to work basically in the front end and in behind the front end as well with insurance. And she's currently the VP of operations at the downtown clinic here in Red Deer, as well as the lead for our corporate 3 clinic side for IT, documentation, insurance, and finance for the corp side. Then Jenn, a few years ago, bought in as a co-owner of the campus location. And so she's really integral in the back door kind of operations of the clinic, and then works with the front end team as well. So Jenn, can I get you to explain, before we get started asking you questions about motor vehicle accidents and insurance, what is a CIP? I see your designation as a CIP and you have a BPE as well. What is all that?
Yeah, great questions. Thanks, Mel. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, as you kind of talked about, I did a diploma in business admin and insurance at Mount Royal, which was a neat little program where they started you on the path for CIP, which is your chartered insurance professional. And that's kind of why I picked going there after doing my Bachelor of Phys Ed, so my BPE out of U of A, working a few years in Hockey, Alberta, doing programming there. And then, with that background of phys ed, and I did a minor in business when I was there, so kind of moved that over into insurance, and then finished my CIP designation after Mount Royal, which there's 6 courses in the diploma that move you towards your CIP, and then I had to complete another 4 after that to get the designation, and have to maintain that yearly as well. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that sounds awesome, and obviously we're really proud to have you on board to help with the insurance questions that people have, but also to prepare documents and help clients with questions. So what Jenn has done is she's written a blog. It hasn't been published yet. After we're done this session today, she's going to, in the next few days, we'll post this live video up on our YouTube channel and a few other areas, and then the blog will go up on our website. And it has to do with reducing stress after a motor vehicle accident, collision, or an MVA. And it's hard enough to get into accident. You crash your car, possibly sometimes it's your fault, sometimes not. You may have an injury, you may have injured somebody else in the process, and so it can be really hard emotionally and whatnot, never mind to have the paperwork and the logistics of trying to navigate this. So Jenn's going to help us sort through all of that today. And Jenn, I think the first question that I have for you has to do around the insurance side of things. Like, what happens when somebody gets into a collision? Is there insurance that covers the car, the injuries, like the liability? What is there available already in place?
Yeah, you're right. It is very confusing. If you were to just try and take your policy out and read it, I'm sure we've seen some of those commercials now where they talk about that and just, hey, talk to your insurance company, because it's difficult to read that policy and know what's covered. But inside your auto insurance policy, there are 3 sections. Your first one that you read about is Section A, and that's your liability coverage. So that's for having personally damaged property or people. So your policy would come into play to cover those sorts of expenses. Section B is then our medical benefits, and that's more specifically what my blog is kind of touching on, is medical benefits. What coverage do you have for, either being injured or off work or different things like that. And then Section C is your kind of collision or loss of use of your vehicle. So they're replacing it, writing it off, of course, depending on which coverages and deductibles, those sorts of things you have on your policy, but that's kind of how it breaks down.
Okay. So is it regulated through the provincial government or federal, or?
Yeah. All insurance does go through the government, through the superintendent of finance, and they certainly mandate a lot of what the wordings are in any of our policies come through there, how they're dealt with, those sorts of things. So all the forms that we end up talking about and getting people to fill out, and like I said, those policies are all vetted through that division before your insurance company uses them.
So is that the superintendent of insurance?
Superintendent of Finance and Insurance. It's that division of the Alberta government. So
Provincial.
it is provincially regulated. Each province has slightly different coverages and rules.
Okay. So if you're in Alberta driving, then it affects Alberta kind of jurisdiction. Is it what happens if you go out of the province?
Well, depending on what the coverage is there, changes your coverages for yourself, really. So usually you're going to get whatever the highest coverage is. So the examples would be going into some of the no-fault provinces compared to Alberta, which isn't truly no fault yet. There are bits that are, and if anybody's been listening to the news, they're trying to move it to no fault in Alberta. We're not there yet. Anyways, if you were to have, say, an accident in BC where their coverages are different and a bit higher than ours are right now, you would get that no fault coverage versus following the Alberta coverages and rules and visits and amounts.
Okay, so we'll go through all of that then, what Alberta has here, I guess, with the next questions. So what is, like, so you get into a car accident, either you're the person that rear-ended somebody, let's just pretend, or you got rear-ended. Does it matter, like, in terms of insurance, like, whose insurance do you use? If you're the one, let's use that fault example. If it was I rear-ended you, what happens? Am I covered?
Again, I guess if we kind of narrow down that we're mostly talking about Section B in our business, so we're looking at medical benefits, that section is a no-fault coverage. So it doesn't matter whose fault the accident was, you're going to go back to your insurance for coverage. Now, those other ones, your Section A, liability, Section C, collision, is going to be worked out through whose fault was it, so who's going to pay for the deductible and the repairs, those sorts of things. But the beautiful part about Section B for medical benefits is because it's no fault, it's really easy to access quickly. So you're injured, you can go get treatment.
Okay, so again, I'm injured, doesn't matter if I was at fault or not. Okay, so what if I don't have insurance? Let's say I'm driving someone else's car, or I'm just a passenger walking down the street and I get hit by somebody.
Yeah, those are a few different things in there, I guess. But yeah, if you were a passenger in a vehicle and got injured in an accident, you would go to the driver's auto insurance for Section B coverage, medical benefits coverage, sorry. If you're a pedestrian and you get hit by somebody, again, you would go now to the owner of the automobile's Section B medical coverage.
That hit me.
That hit you, yeah.
Okay, and what if it was a hit and run? Somebody hit me and left.
Yeah, well, that would take more work with your insurance company. I don't want to speak to that completely, which way they go with that. There would be coverage there. Again, I can't speak to it that well. I would say you call your insurance company for all it matters. They're going to direct you. That's the beauty part of it. So.
Okay. Possibly even have to get a lawyer involved then, like a personal injury lawyer.
Yeah, no, that's probably true as well once you get there. Because truly, as much as medical benefits cover to a certain amount, if somebody is at fault, you're probably looking into that liability section to get some more coverage. Because, like I said, medical benefits maybe cover up to $50,000, but what if you're injured further than that?
Okay. All right. Just added another question to my list. So when you get injured, then let's just say you come into pardon?
I said, that's great.
Oh, I see. When you get injured, let's say you come into a clinic like Collegiate, we'll ask like, hey, did you fill in your AB1? And, we've got to get this AB3 filled in. What is all that? Like, a lot of people get very confused. And then there's a bunch of questions about whether you're working or not working. if you have your own insurance, like let's start with the first question. What's an AB1?
An AB1, in our terms, we use that. We try to not use that with our clients because it is that confusing, of course. That's your notice of loss or proof of loss. That's really just your form to your insurance company saying, I've been in an accident, this is what happened, and I need medical benefits, please. So
Okay, how long? Okay. Is there a limit of time that you have to fill that in?
So depending on your injury, they say it does need to be in within 10 days, unless, your injuries are more severe, say you couldn't fill them out, different circumstances are going on there, then you have up to 30 days. And again, they're very good, the insurance companies. If you aren't able to because of some circumstance, they'll still take it after.
Okay, so just try to get it done as quick as you can then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So then you see somebody in that next form, I know AB2, is like, again, clients are like, well, I need this back. What is that? So what's an AB2 and what does that mean?
Yeah, you're so right, Mel. We've seen so many clients who will come to, our front desk with all the forms their adjuster has sent them, and there's at least 3 of them they get sent generally right off the bat, and trying to figure out which one's which and what do they need to fill out, what they don't need to fill out. So that AB2 is the assessment form. So that's what your primary healthcare practitioner is going to fill out to tell the insurance company, your insurance company, what injury is it and what's our predicted treatment plan? How many visits, how often, what do we see as going on?
Okay, so who would those primary care providers be? Like who can do that form?
Yeah, great question. So there are medical doctors, so your physicians, physiotherapists, and chiropractors are able to complete or be labeled your primary healthcare practitioner, and those who can complete an AB2 assessment form.
Okay, cool. There's just some random person driving around in front of my house. Sorry if I'm looking distracted. It's not like the doorbell's going to ring in a sec and I'm going to be having to go. Anyways, okay, so when a person fills that form in, does that primary care practitioner have to then be the only person that you see for your care? Like, is that it then? You're seeing that person through to the end?
No, there is flexibility in that for sure. And when you look at the different legislation and what's covered, there are also adjunct therapies that your primary healthcare practitioner can suggest or say would be good for your treatment plan. So that's looking at your massage therapy, acupuncture, possibly exercise therapist, athletic therapy, different things like that they see will help in your care.
Okay, so what if a physiotherapist is my primary care practitioner provider and they don't suggest chiropractic and I want chiropractic? How do I go about getting that?
It's strongly recommended you have that conversation with your primary health practitioner as to, hey, what about chiropractic? I've heard it could help for this, or whatever that circumstance is, so that they mention it to the adjuster, which is the person working for the insurance company, to create that plan. Now, if you're having troubles getting that through who you're seeing, so your physiotherapist maybe in this case, you can also speak to your adjuster yourself, looking for those kind of care guidances and letting them know that's what you'd like to do. They're generally never going to deny something. It's just going to be trying to put that all into a care plan and be able to follow your case.
So then billing wise, does the client then, if they want this extra care, do they have to pay out of pocket then and then submit it to their insurance, or is it direct billable? Or
in that beginning part of a claim, generally you're able to direct bill it, and even if you're going somewhere else for that other service, they're able to direct bill that. It can get a bit tricky if you have 2 or 3 different businesses trying to direct bill your insurance for care, as to who gets in first, who gets paid first, those sorts of things. So it's really, we try to work really well with our clients and just ask each time they come in, if you've gone for chiropractic, how many visits have you had? So we can just keep your claim up to date and know how many visits have been used.
Okay, so probably a lot to it there. So basically, if somebody comes in and they have their own insurance through work or their own benefits plan, do they have to use that up first, or can they use this one like through their Section B coverage?
It's that's another great question that gets so confusing sometimes in trying to describe it. So I'm glad we're doing this video versus me trying to type it out. It depends on what the injury is. Now, Alberta put in treatment protocols, regulation basically, that says, you know, we want people to get care as fast as possible. So if they fall into these different injuries, then they're allotted immediately this number of treatments. We don't need approval. You see a primary health care practitioner, they sign off on it, say this is what we need, and away we go. Now, these are minor injuries for the most part. And those are the ones that, like you said, we can directly go to the insurance company, get them paid for. Quickly, let's get you better. Now, if they don't fall into those minor injuries, then we're looking slightly different, where we do need to use any of your private insurance first, if there is any. And then we can bill anything outside of that or over and above that back to the auto insurance company.
So things like, they call them WAD injuries, so whiplash associated disorders. So WAD 1 and 2 is like a minor whiplash without a profound neurological influence. So I think it's the WAD 3s then that fall outside the minor injury cap, and they would then be more substantial whiplash associated disorders, fractures. What else? Because I understand concussion used to be inside of or outside of the minor injury rule, and now they're putting it inside the minor injury. Like, where's concussions at now?
It's still, I want to say still a little gray without being an adjuster myself. But yeah, direction has been coming that concussion would fall inside protocol if it is related to musculoskeletal injury. So whiplash generally, if we think that way, is going to have some concussion symptoms to it. So if we're treating the neck, say, for concussion symptoms, and that's kind of where it's coming from, then they're looking at it falling inside protocol. So that first, hey, let's just direct bill it to the insurance company and away we go. But if it's coming from something else, then it would still fall, what we say is outside protocol, which follows those different rules of whose insurance comes first. So the great example is lots of concussion symptoms could have or be vestibular related, so your dizziness or balance issues, those sorts of things. Now, if we're looking at doing vestibular rehab, that goes outside protocol versus kind of our musculoskeletal my neck sore treatments.
So that seems like a bit of a piss off. Like, if I was to be that person that gets injured and you're going to tell me I have to use my own insurance first, and I'm only saying it like this because we get a lot of clients that feel this way, and I agree. It's like, you know what, I was injured, it wasn't my fault, and you're going to tell me because my injuries were really profound that now I'm not covered under Section B, I have to use my own private insurance. Like, what's that about?
You got to think, you know, why the minor injury rules were put in there is for that quick, direct access. We're talking sprains, strains, and that minor whiplash that Mel mentioned, that you mentioned already, where they found, hey, if we allot them 10, 21 visits for these injuries, generally they've gotten better by then. Or that's the idea anyways. So again, they're just saying, let's make this as quick as possible, and hopefully you'll get better, you'll be happy, and away we go. Now, at the end of those, 10 or 21 visits, if you need continued treatment, now we fall into this outside protocol realm anyways, where we're needing to use your own personal extended health, and the auto insurer will follow up with everything else that's not covered. Now, because these other ones aren't considered this minor injury, it's more about the length of time and the unknown, treatments that are going to be needed. So if we can say, Well, at the start, use some of yours to kind of say, yeah, man, I really need this treatment. Like I'm hurting. And that kind of puts, you know, you're putting some money in the game saying, yeah, I'm going to need this. And now when that runs out in, you know, most insurance policies are covering $500 in a year, your auto insurance is going to pick up everything after that. So we see one way or the other, you generally get into your extended health anyways, but it's just how quickly and when.
Okay, yeah, it's just kind of crummy because if like 6 months later I hurt my knee playing basketball, then I'd like to have my private insurance ready to roll, you know, not have it all used up because I got in this car accident. But anyways, I think that letting people know that it isn't anything that we can control is certainly important. It isn't our rule, it's the way the legislation is written, and it is frustrating for sure. But so Jen, you mentioned insurance coverage, but now what about rates? Like if we go ahead and use this, say I rear end somebody and then all these injuries of the injured person gets claimed against my insurance, do my premiums go up or what, or rates, or whatever they're called?
That's my favorite tidbit I really want to share with people is to know to use your Section B, this medical benefits, does not affect your premiums. It is there. Please use it. I know there are so many people out there who won't make a claim to their insurance because their premiums will go up. Now, that's only if you're going to use that collision or Section A liability items. So yeah, I get it. Hey, it's not even worth a deductible sometimes to get that bumper repaired. I'll just do it myself. But if we're talking, you know, my neck hurt, because these days any bumper gets hit, your airbag probably went off. You can come in for or get yourself treatment for those and not affect your premiums.
Okay, so that's nice. You know, it's scary, right? You're like, oh, I don't want to use my insurance, but to know that it doesn't affect things, that's good. And you mentioned, you know, you might not feel injured and get it assessed anyways. A lot of times what'll happen, and I think this is, you know, just interjecting a little bit here, is people will come, you know, 5 months later and they'll have this sore neck or something and they're not really sure where it came from, and it maybe, you know, came on slowly over time because of a tightness or a minor strain that occurred during the car accident, and then it's too late to make a claim against a car accident because it wasn't assessed within, you know, a reasonable amount of time. So, you know, I think the recommendation, Jen, I think from you over the years has been to just get looked at, right? Like go in, get an assessment, get, you know, a therapist to kind of look at things and make sure stuff looks good. And now, when would be the ideal day, you know, from an insurance perspective to do that? I mean, obviously as a therapist, I'll probably have a thought on it too, but what do you recommend? When should you come in if you're not hurt? Or should you?
Yeah, I'd still say, I mean, the sooner the better, clearly, from that insurance and paperwork. Let's get it going. The sooner we can get some of those forms in and know what's going on, the better. Like Mel said, if it's a few months later and we're looking at it, we still have to actually do all that same paperwork, but there's going to be a lot more loopholes to try and get through to get these visits covered now. So sooner you can get in, the better. Get that assessment done by, you know, somebody who can look at all those different areas. I do sort of mention that in the blog as well, looking at physiotherapists or chiropractors who, you know, can look at multiple body parts, how your body's functioning, you know, what isn't quite working, you know, it might not be hurting, but you know there's something still not quite right maybe, or you're just feeling a little tight in some areas. So
Right. So if actually I have a question before I ask a second question on that is, I know we're supposed to be like doing this horizontal view here, and then, but are we actually sideways on the vertical screen now, or is this like, is there anybody out there that can tell me, are we looking in the right direction? You never know, right? Anyways, fingers crossed it's like we did, right? Okay, so as a therapist, I think, and any active person that has gone to the gym even and worked out, or fallen outside in the snow, you'll see usually the first day you might have a bit of soreness, but in the second day, you know, a little bit more. And usually that second or third day is when that kind of delayed soreness comes on. So, you know, I would definitely, you know, urge you, if you're not feeling anything at all, you know, that 2 or 3 day mark, you should find maximal soreness from a mild sprain or strain. So possibly to pop in at that point, versus the first day when, you know, things maybe, you know, a mild sprain or strain hasn't really shown itself yet. So just a thought as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So Jen, what if there is somebody's driving? Let's say I'm driving and I smoked a joint, or I took a couple glasses of wine and then I rear-ended somebody. So now I'm high or I'm drunk. Is there still a no fault thing going on there, or is it the insurance still protects me no matter what?
No, at that point, when you look at Section B benefits, because I can't speak to the other ones as well, is that you would not be eligible for accident benefits in those circumstances. So if you're impaired, there's a few different things. If you were driving and you knew you didn't have valid insurance, you wouldn't be covered then. You know, it's different if you didn't know, say it lapsed by a day or something, and it's just an honest mistake. You'd probably, again, I'll just say probably still get covered. If you were driving somebody else's vehicle without their consent, things like that. If you were a passenger in a vehicle that you knew the driver didn't have consent for, I think racing, those sorts of things come into play with those accident benefits as well. Just they're all things that you're not allowed to do in your car, so you wouldn't be covered for accident benefits. Yeah, right.
Okay, so so basically then what happens is it just goes into the legal system. Then if there's somebody gets injured from that, then I'm SOL, I pay for my own problems and I pay for the other person's problems.
You'd probably be talking both to your insurance company and very likely a lawyer at some point if you were at fault. I don't know how the liability would work out, if they still cover you or not. I'm not positive on that. So that's definitely, I always recommend, if you have a question on that stuff, talk to your adjuster. Still not sure or what's going on, is those personal injury lawyers actually have really great backgrounds and knowledge on how these work.
Okay. No, that sounds good. Now we're getting into half an hour here. So Jen, hopefully you're okay for time still.
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I have at least one more question. In terms of duration, so a person gets in a car accident maybe January 1st, 2022. How long do I have to use up this or to access this insurance through Section B?
2 years is the full term of any coverage under that. Yeah.
Okay. And so after 2 years, if I'm still struggling, there's injuries, there's issues, what do I do now to get help?
Well, prior to you getting to your 2 years, your insurance company would be looking at what's happening, where are you at, what kind of care levels are you going to continue to need. And that's where, during this whole process, they've been already dealing with that liability side of things and possibly getting a payout from the at-fault person that is then going to cover your needs past that 2 years.
Okay. So, so then again, a lawyer would maybe be called in, but otherwise they're suggesting that most stuff should be somewhat recovered or settled down by then. And if not, then this goes outside of that. So
yeah.
What's the financial limit? Like if I'm trying to, like you said, there's this approval thing and these 21 treatments. And so if I get those, a lot of people I think feel that that's it. I've used up my 21 and now I can't have any more. What's the truth behind that?
The 21 again is just that base, hey, let's get started as quickly as possible kind of coverage. From there, then your primary healthcare practitioner, so your physiotherapist or chiro, is in talks with your insurance company requesting continued visits based on a certain treatment plan and how you've been progressing. So that's up to $50,000 that they will cover medical benefits within, like I said, that 2 years. Now there's different coverages for different types of services, and I don't think we need to get into those exact numbers maybe, but we work with you. Your physiotherapist as well with your insurer to try and fit that all in and how things are going to help.
50,000. Wow. So what kind of things would people spend that on?
Yeah, well, there's a few different sections inside Section B as well, as much as we talk about, physiotherapy, massage, acupuncture, chiropractic in our services. There's also psychological or psychologist coverages fall inside there. There is, oh goodness, different things on occupational therapy. Maybe you need nursing at your house because you're not able to leave anymore depending on what your injury was. Ambulance services fall inside there if you had to use an ambulance for the accident. I'm just trying to think of all the different things that can kind of fall into medical benefits.
What if I'm off work? Does it cover wages, Jen?
It does cover, yeah. So there's a disability, basically can't work coverages. Again, because we don't deal with that a lot in our clinics, I don't know the exact percentage coverage, but you kind of think of it like a short-term disability where they're going to cover a percentage of your wages.
Okay. No, that's cool. So basically talk to my adjuster,
Yeah.
or is it better to talk to a lawyer? Is the adjuster going to try to not spend money on getting me better, or because they're acting on the behalf of the insurance company? This is no hack on insurance companies. This is just saying, hey, if they, who has my best interest other than me?
I think that's case by case, depending on what your relationship is with your insurance company and your adjuster. Certainly is never a bad idea, even just to get some advice from a lawyer. I have found in our instances, they'll give you some advice to help you through as well. Whether you need to use them for their services or not is a different question, I suppose. Your broker sometimes is one of the key people you can talk to. So if you use a brokerage to get your insurance, so they're basically kind of a middleman between you and your insurance company. And they can be a real great person for your case as well. If you're having troubles getting a hold of your adjuster, what coverages do I have? They're there for you, and that's really handy. Or if you directly get, so direct insurance, like myself through AMA, you don't have a broker in that case. You are just talking to your adjuster. So if you're not able to get a hold of them, not getting answers you want, those sorts of things, I'd certainly head towards a personal injury lawyer.
Okay. Whew, that's a lot of info. Thank you for all of that. Jen, I don't know, is there anything else that you'd like to add in terms of things that I haven't asked you about?
I think one of the other ones I really enjoyed or thought was important to write about in the blog was just, this is your care and you have a right to ask questions. You also have a right to change your treatment plan or move somewhere else if you're not happy. I think that's a key one to hone in on. At Collegiate, we do have multiple disciplines. We actually have multiple practitioners inside each discipline. So they each have different skill sets and different ways that they can help. So that's kind of nice with us. It makes it an easy transition if we're needing to get maybe into needling versus active release techniques or a chiropractor, those sorts of things. But the same does apply if you are somewhere else and not getting the results you want. You can move clinics. We see people like that all the time, and we're glad to help them. So I think keep that in mind. If you are in an injury and you're not getting better, is seek out more help.
Okay. No, that's good tips for sure. Now, Jen's blog is called 8 Tips to Reduce Stress After a Motor Vehicle Accident. And obviously, Jen, 8 tips is hardly enough to cover what we've gone through today. Other resources, I think on our website, we've got some stuff that you've created as well for people.
That's correct. Yes, we've got a client handout that we hand out to our clients, but is also available on our website. When this blog is up, all these references will be linked in there as well, and can try and help people out. I think the other great part is we do have an outstanding team of admin at our clinics that can help answer a lot of these questions and guide clients through what that next step is, what form do I need to do, what insurance is covered, those sorts of things.
Okay. No, that's awesome. All right, well, thank you for joining me, Jen, today, and for all of you that joined in and were watching. I didn't see any questions pop up, but I did see a few people pop in to join us. So thank you for taking that time. Like Jen said, we will be posting this copy or recording, I guess, of this video, not only on our website, but also on our YouTube channel. So please take a peek at it there. And yeah, Happy New Year. I know this is just coming on the heels of Christmas and right before the New Year. And so take care of yourself out there, all of you, and be really careful, not only with the weather, but also with drinking and driving and all of that to make sure that you make good decisions. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mel.